Hey everyone, I'm Ashes,
And I'm Will. And
and this
this
is
is
Ashes
Ashes
and
and
Will
Will
Do
Do Disney.
Disney.
Each week, one of us will tell the other the history, facts, and stories behind the rides and attractions of Disney that have made special memories for generations.
Keep in mind that Ashes and Will Do Disney is not affiliated with or employed by the Walt Disney Company, and our views and opinions do not reflect theirs.
Now it's time to sit back, relax, and put on your ears because it's time for Ashes and Will Do Disney. Oh, hey there, Ashes.
Oh, hey, how are you doing?
Doing all right. Back for another episode.
Yeah, I'm always excited to do this.
Me too. It's our little Disney date nights.
It is fun.
It's a lot of fun.
So we all know that I work night shift, as I've told you before.
I don't think you've mentioned that before.
Okay, I don't need your sass, sir. Which means that I'm not always firing on all cylinders. So we're sitting here, you and I, just chilling a couple days before Halloween, and I'm excited for Halloween,
Well, yeah.
and it's a big deal in our house.
Right. Granted, after this episode airs, it's not going to
I'm
be
getting
Halloween.
there. So I'm like, sweet, I'm gonna do a fun Halloween quiz for Will. And
I mean, I
I'm
still
like,
think you should.
I am going to, but as soon as we started recording, I was like, oh, this is gonna be a Halloween cruise in November or cruise. God, wow.
Well, I
Wish
mean,
we were on a
we're taking a
cruise.
Halloween cruise next year, so.
Um, yeah, this is gonna be a Halloween quiz in November.
But I
So
mean, we do Halloween pretty much year round. Like, I've got my Wicked Spooky hat on that I got at Boo Bash, and I bought it knowing full well that I'd wear it multiple times beyond Halloween just because that's what I do.
we are also wearing our matching Mickey Halloween
We
sweatpants.
are. We are. And yeah, Halloween just kind of doesn't end in our house. Like, there's 11 months of the year to build up to Halloween, and then it's Halloween, and then it's still spooky season no matter what here.
I mean, sometimes it's Christmas Halloween.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we do put up the Christmas decorations and all that, but Christmas decorations come down. Halloween decorations really don't. We always have some sort of spooky decor up.
Well, yeah, I mean, I go to Target during, September, October to look at all the Halloween decorations. I'm like, no, no, y'all, this is like normal house decorations. Like
Right.
we got a little skull pineapple,
That's not going to get put
and
away.
yeah, that's just staying.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we have all of our Nightmare Before Christmas stuff, our Haunted Mansion Jim Shore stuff. It just stays out year round.
Yep. So, anyways, we're gonna find out if you are unbelievable good or just a slight fright when it comes to knowing some of Disney's most ghostly Halloween trivia. Trivia.
Trivia.
Trivia.
I'm not editing that out, by the way.
Thanks for that one. Glad to know you got my back there, babe. So this comes from D23. I thought I'd venture out of the
Oh,
app a
yay,
little bit,
D23.
but I didn't go with your
The Oh My
Oh
Disney.
My Disney because I
Yeah.
was like, okay, Will usually does that one, so I gotta find something.
Yay, D23.
However, um, I don't get to push a button. I have to like write it down and tally it myself.
Well, that's weird.
I know
Welcome to 2021.
this is like welcome to like
You may
1992.
as well have like a hammer and a chisel and a slab.
I know. It's rough. So just bear with me while I have to like write words, okay? So, anyways,
Anyways,
okay, number 1. The Skeleton Dance was the first of which cartoon series?
give me the choices, but I'm pretty sure I know.
I'm pretty sure you know. Okay. A Disney Halloween, The Silly Symphonies, Have a Laugh, or Mickey's House of Villains.
Silly Symphonies.
Yeah. I feel like we need some theme music while I write these, you know. I'm going to need you to pick a different song between each question, okay?
A different song.
Well,
Wow.
yeah, make it interesting for these
Okay.
people. Okay. Who does Mickey Mouse encounter in 1929's The Haunted House? A Grim Reaper, a Mad Doctor, the Hatbox Ghost, or a ghostly witch?
Oh, man. Feel like it's the Mad Doctor.
Okay, we'll go with it. Thank you. Which of these cartoons was directed by Walt Disney? Lonesome Ghosts, The Haunted House, Trick or Treat, or The Mad Doctor?
Well, dang, now I think the Mad Doctor is not in the haunted house, and I actually want to change my answer to Grim Reaper.
Oh, fine. Grim Reaper
Because
for
I think
number
that's actually
2.
right. And I'm going to say Mad Doctor for the Walt Disney direction.
It's a good thing I'm rating this because if it was just a button pushing one, that
Oh,
wouldn't
I'd be
even be an
toast.
option.
It's a final thing.
Okay, number 4. Which costume is not worn by Huey, Dewey, or Louie in Trick or Treat?
Ooh,
Devil, witch, skeleton, or ghost?
skeleton.
Wow, pretty quick with that
Well,
one.
I've watched that cartoon so many
Oh,
times.
literally,
And they also wear it in the Scariest Story Ever Told Mickey Mouse special.
I was gonna say, I was
They
like,
wore
we
the
watched
same
that.
costumes they wore in Trick or Treat.
Okay, in the Lonesome Ghosts, the Ajax Ghost Exterminators are comprised of.
Mickey, Goofy, and Donald.
Okay, wow. Never mind. I won't even read, the
Well, I
rest
mean,
of
Mickey
them.
thinks he's going to hunt ghosts with a shotgun, which I know is the gag.
I mean, look, they literally do not make cartoons like that anymore.
No.
So
No.
you gotta enjoy it. Okay, the skeleton dance featured how many skeletons?
What are the choices?
3, 5, 4, or 2?
I want to say 5.
Okay. For Lonesome Ghosts, what new invention did Disney Animation Department create? The SpectraVision camera, glow-in-the-dark paint, the multi-pane camera, transparent paint.
SpectraVision camera?
It talked about the multi-pane camera in that thing we did.
Oh, I remember that thing we did.
I can't write and talk.
Well, why didn't you wait?
Well, because you weren't singing a song, so people were gonna get
Well,
bored.
you were going a little bit faster, so.
When we went to Disney World and we walked through the Disney Museum and Hollywood Studios.
Oh, the Walt Disney Museum?
Yeah, that one.
And then we got to watch the 16-minute documentary on Walt?
Yeah, but it talked about the multi-plane camera.
Okay.
Well, I read about it. I took pictures. I actually read through the museum and looked at all this stuff.
Well, that's because the kids walked with me.
Yeah, it was great. I enjoyed the museum.
Yeah.
So, Number 8. What is the name of the witch that Donald Duck encounters in Trick or Treat?
Hazel.
Okay, cool. That's cool. I didn't know how to say the first word anyway, so that made my life easier. The Lonesome Ghosts make a cameo in which other Disney project? House of Villains, Halloween Town.
It's House of Villains.
Okay, cool. Hope nobody else really wanted to
hear the
play
choices.
Along. Yeah. And what 1933 Mickey Mouse short was deemed too frightening for children by British Film Censor Board upon release? Mickey's Nightmare, The Gorilla Mystery, Harem Scream, or Mad Doctor?
Mickey's Nightmare?
Well, I don't know the answer.
Well, I don't think I mean, I don't know. I'm purely guessing on that one. That's crazy to think a cartoon that old was deemed too scary.
Right? Oh, well, it was a good thing you changed your answer, but you still got number 3 wrong.
What was number 3 again?
I don't know. You switched it to the Mad Doctor, though, and that was wrong.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know. So which one did Walt direct?
He directed The Haunted House.
Oh, okay. Where Mickey encountered the Grim Reaper.
You got whatever question number 6 was wrong. I'll have to go back.
Well, what's
and
the
look.
answer to question number 6?
Or 4.
Oh, that was the dancing skeletons.
Oh, okay. And apparently transparent paint is what they made, not the SpectraVision camera.
Okay.
You got Hazel right. House of Villains was right. And it's the Mad Doctor.
For the last one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you got 6 out of 10. So it says if you got 5 to 6, they say, "What's this? You've proven yourself to be a frightful contender, but there's still room to conjure a perfect score."
Yeah.
So
So I'm not out of the running, is what they're saying, but I got some more training to do.
you are not unbelievably good, though.
I have another boo pun, but it's not appropriate. So
Well, moving on then.
moving on. So I do have a little story to share before I get started on what I wanted to talk about today.
A mouse tail?
We're going to call this our first mouse tale, and we actually did get another one, so we'll need to get that in on an episode as well. This is actually not the first mouse tale that got sent to us, but I wanted to make sure that we get this one shared.
Nice, nice. Excited.
Yeah, so it's a short one, but
Okay.
it was very touching. So, my friend, I'm going to keep some names. I'm not going to give first names, things of that nature, just to respect the privacy of their family,
That's
essentially.
nice. Normally, I'm just on here blasting all my friends, so it's cool.
Yeah, but so this has to do with some like health things, though. So I want to
That
keep
makes
it a little
sense.
more,
That's nice.
a little more private. But so my buddy, he messaged me the other day and said, "As you're a big time Disney person, I have a Disney story for you." So his son had been dealing with some health issues, and as a result, that condition made him eligible for Make a Wish. And his wish is to go to the Disney parks in Orlando. However, due to COVID, all travel wishes are on hold. Since this is the case, Disney sent a care package which includes a 1,000 piece puzzle, a little genie plush, and the puzzle is a Baby Yoda puzzle,
Aww.
a little genie plush, a Kylo Ren lightsaber, and some cloth face masks, and they felt it was a very kind gesture.
Wow, Kylo Ren lightsaber. That sounds pretty fancy.
Yeah, and I'll post the picture. Like, it looks like it's a pretty good size here, and like the genie plush looks like the little wishable size plushies.
Oh, cute.
So, and he did give me permission to share this story. They're good friends, and
Oh, I love it.
when they got married, so they actually met at our Christmas party.
Yes,
So
they
we
did.
take credit for them getting together in their current life. All
See,
us,
look.
100%.
You did something good with your life, Will.
I did something right there. So do appreciate them letting us share that story. So this episode is dedicated to the Kerrigans.
Awesome.
Now, what I have for you this week was actually inspired by your abandoned swimming hole episode, your abandoned
Sweet.
water park. So who was the star of River Country?
Well, Goofy, of course.
Goofy. So let's talk about Goofy.
We're just gonna do a whole episode on Goofy.
We're going to do an episode on Goofy.
I do love Goofy.
I feel like he's kind of an underrated character. Like, he's prominent and he's a star, but I still feel like he's underrated.
I'm sorry, but I fell even more in love with Goofy on the episode. Which was it? The one where they made where he's
Potato
in
Land?
Well, I did love Potato Land. Is that the one where he was like, "But I'm not wearing pants" when he's in the mine cart?
Yes, that's Potato
Yep.
Land.
See that one.
Yeah. Yep. So let's talk a little bit about Goofy. Quick overview of this fine gentleman. He is a tall anthropomorphic dog. He usually wears a turtleneck and a vest with pants, shoes, and white gloves. He has a tall hat that was originally designed as a rumpled fedora.
Oh,
And he is close friends with Mickey and Donald.
just one question.
Maybe one answer.
At some point, are we going to cover how Goofy?
If it's what I think you're talking about, let's slow ourselves down a little. Save your questions.
Ugh,
Because if it's what I think you're going to ask, let's just slow down.
well, can I just ask it anyways, and then you can just tell me you'll answer it later?
Go ahead.
Can we just? I want to know why he lost his pants. Where did his
Oh,
pants
okay.
go?
So no, it's not the same thing. So we actually talked about this on vacation because yeah, he used to wear like long pants, as I just mentioned.
I know you just talked about his pants, and I'm like, but now he doesn't wear pants.
Yeah, in the
Where
new
are his
cartoon, he didn't even
pants?
wear a shirt. He wears a vest,
No.
a hat, no pants, and like shoes that are all beat up and broken too.
Yeah,
so
where are his pants? Just he's a little. I feel like he used to be a little bit more upstanding, and
Right. Which, I mean, don't get me wrong though. Like, his lack of pants comes into a lot of the gags. Like in the the no shoes, no shirt, no service episode.
Yeah.
He's like, some people got no class, and he doesn't have his pants on.
I mean, yeah.
And then, as you
super
mentioned, the
entertaining.
Potato Land episode, he's like, I'm gonna need a new pair of coveralls when I'm all done with this. And then he realized like he's not wearing anything, so he's like, oh, scare away, because he can pee freely because he's not wearing pants.
Yep. Okay, cool. Well, still got that mystery.
So don't know why, but it does play into a lot of the gags in the cartoons.
Okay, let's hear what you got.
All right, so he debuted in 1932 in Mickey's Revue. Do you remember what his original name was?
Oh, goodness. No.
So I actually got this right when we were at Disney World for the first time, and we went to that like How to Draw Academy that they do.
Yeah, I was like, I know you're gonna tell me, and I know I've heard it.
Well, I mean, yeah, of course I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to be like, do you know what his name is? And you're like, no. And I'm like, cool. Well, then now no one gets to know.
Okay, thanks, Will.
But I remember I got this right, and it actually surprised the guy who was leading the animation class because he asked what his original name was. And his original name was Dippy Dog.
Oh, yes.
Now, and it's like kind of gangster too, because it's not D-O-G, it's D-A-W-G.
Dippy Dog.
Yeah. Now, the character of Dippy was older in age than what Goofy would become in the future. So he was an older looking dog.
Okay.
And later in the same year, he was reimagined as a younger character named Goofy in the cartoon, The Whoopie Party. I'll let you speculate on what the Whoopie Party is about.
No, remember we clicked that this podcast was nice and G-rated, so...
Yeah, so that's why I said we'll let you speculate. I would imagine like it's just a party where they're saying whoopee. I bet we could find it on YouTube.
Whoopie pies?
Maybe. And during the 30s, he was heavily used in a comedic trio with Mickey and Donald. In the late 30s, he was given his own series of shorts that were popular in the 40s through the early 50s. Two of his shorts, How to Play Football and Aquamania, were nominated for Oscars.
That's crazy.
That's really cool to think about. That
It
these
really
short Disney
is.
cartoons that are Goofy, again,
Yeah.
kind of an underrated character. He's meant to be a sidekick, and he's getting Oscar nominations.
Yeah.
In 1938, Goofy and Donald made their first appearance without Mickey in the short, Polar Trappers.
Huh.
3 more shorts were made in the 60s, and after that, Goofy only showed up on TV and in Disney comics. He made his return to theatrical animation in Mickey's Christmas Carol in 1983, where he portrayed Jacob Marley.
Okay.
And you've seen this, so he comes in, he's
yeah.
tripping on Scrooge's cane and falling down the stairs, so typical Goofy, but he's a ghost and he's Jacob Marley.
Yeah.
So now we have to look at what is his actual name.
Wait, it's not Goofy?
No,
What?
there's multiple names that he's been called by.
What?
In the 1950s, he usually played a character named George G. Geef.
What?
We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a bit.
I don't understand.
Sources from Goof Troop continuity have his name as G.G. Goofy, quote-unquote, Goof. So his last name is Goof, and Goofy is his nickname, which you'll look, if you watch the old cartoon, of Goof Troop, Pete will refer to him as Goof. So he's calling him by his last name.
But Goof is short for Goofy, so...
No, Goofy is the nickname off of his last name of Goof, and we'll talk about it too, like his son is Max Goof.
Okay, mind blown.
There you go. In both animation and comics, the last name of Goof has been referred to multiple times. But in some comics from the early 2000s, his name has been referred to as Goofus D. Dog. Again, D-A-W-G.
What?
Let's talk a little bit about the actual background of Goofy and his history. So Pinto Colvig is the original voice of Goofy. And he said that Goofy is based on the grinny, half-baked village nitwit from his hometown in Jacksonville, Oregon. Colvig had a stage character named the Oregon Apple Knocker, and he used a lot of the mannerisms for this character that Goofy uses. Kolvig had a discussion with Walt Disney and director Wilfred Jackson, and they decided Kolvig's character would be the basis to expand the Mickey Mouse cast. Kolvig spent a day after the conversation in the studio acting out the character for animator Tom Palmer. While Palmer sketched the character, animator Art Babbitt gets the credit for developing him. Babbitt said during a lecture, "Think of the Goof as a composite of an everlasting optimist, a gullible good Samaritan, a half-wit, a shiftless, good-natured hick." In his early appearances in the comics, Goofy was portrayed as single and childless. He did not have a steady girlfriend like Mickey and Donald, except for when he portrayed the George Geef character, in which he was married and had a son named George Jr. And I actually do remember some of those cartoons.
I did not see that one. I don't remember that one.
Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about them in detail, too. This obviously changed in the Goof Troop cartoon, where Goofy is the single father of Max. While animation portrayed Goofy as a single father, the comics continued to portray him with no children, except for the comics that take place in the Goof Troop universe. After 2004, Max disappeared from animation, which removed the division between the comics and animation. So after 2004, Max went away, and now Goofy is, again, childless in both animation and comics.
I was going to say, Max didn't stay around for too long.
No, not too long.
Still a fantastic movie, though.
Well, Goof Troop was originally a cartoon, a TV series.
Oh, I mean the Goofy movie.
Yeah, Goofy movie, which we watched right before we went to our Disney World trip.
Yeah, because it's such a good movie.
So we never saw Goofy's wife, and George Geef's wife's face was never seen. The 1950 Goofy shorts portrayed him as a family man. Now we'll talk about the comics versus the animation. In the comics, he's usually portrayed as Mickey's sidekick, but on occasion he gets to be the protagonist. In the comics, he lives in Mouseton, but lives in Spoonerville on Goof Troop. In the comics, his relatives are his smarter nephew Gilbert and his grandmother, Grandma Goofy. I'm just thinking about the one where he pretends to be his own grandma because there's a giant spider in his house. And here comes Grandma. Here comes Grandma. Watch the Mickey Mouse shorts if you don't get what I'm talking about. They're hilarious. And
they're so good.
They get watched often. In Italian comics, he had a cousin named Arizona Goof, originally known as Indiana Pips, a spoof of Indiana Jones. Of course, Goofy's got some signature phrases and mannerisms that he's just known for.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to kind of do the voices.
I was like, you can kind of do them.
Yeah, I mean, the kids love them. They say I sound like them. I'm not confident that they're going to translate well to recording. Like, I don't think Disney's going to be calling me anytime soon to have me replace Bill Farmer.
I mean, you never know, but it's better than what I could do.
So first, he's got his gorsh, which is his exclamation of surprise in his way of saying gosh. He's got his yuck, his distinctive chuckle. We've got the Goofy holler, which I'm not going to do.
Oh,
I can't do that. It's that Yahoo-wee thing that he does. I can't do that one.
Aww.
Cannot do that.
You can't sound like you're falling down a giant tunnel.
No, because that's what he does when he's falling, basically.
I just like your Yahoo-hoo-hoo-ee.
It was very modest. He's got his phrase that wasn't as popular, but he still said it sometimes. It was, "Something wrong here." And that was first heard in my favorite, The Lonesome Ghosts.
Okay.
And that's when he's kind of looking in the mirror, and he thinks he's looking at himself, and the ghost is matching his movements.
Oh, yes.
But he's kind of realizing, okay, this is my reflection. It's moving with me, but it doesn't look like me, so something wrong here.
I mean, he's a thinker.
He sometimes sings a few bars from the song "The World Owes Me a Livin'," which is from The Grasshopper and the Ants, a short created from one of the Aesop's Fables for Silly Symphonies, in which Pinto Kolvig voiced the grasshopper. Let's talk about Walt's feelings on Goofy.
Ooh.
You're going to be a little shocked by this at first, but don't fret about it, okay? Because what I say at the very end will make you feel a little better.
I'm already fretting now.
Okay. According to biographer Neil Gabler, Walt Disney didn't like the Goofy cartoons.
Oh.
He viewed them as quote unquote stupid cartoons with gags tied together. He felt there was no larger narrative or emotional engagement.
That's how I feel about George Lucas.
He saw the cartoons as a step backwards to the early days of animation. He often threatened to get rid of the character altogether. He essentially kept the character in order to provide make work for his animators, which is basically a means to have some sort of work. So he didn't have to get rid of people, basically.
Kind of like how we had all those how they came up with all those shorts that everyone loves for Pixar.
Yeah, right.
But, then those, they didn't do those that one time, and it was awful.
Yeah,
Anyways, tangent. Move on.
Yeah, sorry about that. Now, here's where I told you not to fret, because animation historian Michael Barrier has disputed Gabler's claims and said Walt did not actually feel that way about Goofy.
Well, you.
Do you remember the How To series?
Yes. You know what? They played those when we went and stayed at Animal Kingdom, and they had the old school cartoons just running on repeat. They were there.
Exactly. So, in 1938, Kolvig had a falling out with Disney, and so he left, and that left Goofy without a voice.
Oh.
And so the Kolvig departure is seen as the cause for the How To series. Because in these shorts, Goofy had very little dialogue. So a narrator, often voiced by John McLeish, was used in addition to reusing Kolvig recordings or hiring a man named Danny Webb to imitate the voice.
I mean, they could have just called you.
Well, I wasn't alive then. We're about 40 years prior to me coming around here.
Okay, fine.
So now the series would show Goofy clumsily demonstrating how to do tasks such as skiing, sleeping, playing football, riding a horse, things of that nature. The cartoons did so well that they became a staple format, and they are still used in Goofy shorts such as How to Hook Up Your Home Theater, which came out in 2007. Currently, we'll talk a little bit more about it as we go, but there's currently a How to Stay Home series on Disney+.
Aww.
Starting in 1942 with How to Play Baseball, every character in the cartoon was a version of Goofy.
Oh, that's fun.
Yep, and I remember one of my favorites, there's a hockey one. And so every player is Goofy, every fan in the crowd is Goofy, and it turns into a big brawl, so it's a whole bunch of Goofies fighting each other.
I think I remember that one.
And they even kind of do it in one of the newer shorts where it's a basketball one, and Mickey's the commentator for the basketball game, and there's a bunch of Goofies playing basketball against each other.
It's fun.
It is. So doing this elevated Goofy from just being clumsy to being an everyday man role, or an everyman role. And by the time How to Play Baseball had come out, Kolvig had returned to Disney in 1940 and resumed his duties as the voice of Goofy.
Phew.
Now we lead into the everyman years. This started in the 1950s, in which Goofy changed into a family man dealing with everyday things like dieting, quitting smoking, and raising a child.
Yep.
Walt came up with the idea, hoping that it would give Goofy personality that had been lost when he became a crowd of extras. So
Gotcha.
essentially, when every character became Goofy,
Yeah.
he was getting lost into just being everybody, essentially.
Yeah.
So he is never called Goofy during this period, even though the cartoons were still shown as Walt Disney Presents Goofy. This is the George Geef era. Goofy also received a makeover in these cartoons. His eyes were smaller, and they had eyebrows. His whole body, not just his face, is pale. So normally, he's got his face that's kind of the peach pale color, and then he's black. Like,
Yeah.
arms are black, legs are black. His hands are pale, too. Like, he's got, like, flesh tones for his whole body.
Man, I feel like I need to go back and look up some pictures.
And he sometimes had a quote-unquote normal voice in these cartoons.
Huh.
And I do remember some of these cartoons where he would talk and it was not the Goofy voice. In some of the shorts, he didn't have his droopy ears. His facial stubble and buck teeth were removed to give him a more refined look.
I mean, was he even Goofy at this point?
Well, no, he's George Geef.
Ugh.
His casual clothing changed to business suits. He was portrayed as more human than dog. This is when his wife and son were introduced, and they were never really portrayed as dogs. The wife's face is never seen, but she had a human body, and the son did not have dog ears. Let's talk a little more about the later years of Goofy. After the 1965 educational film, Goofy's Freeway Troubles, the character was essentially retired other than cameos. This was due to the cartoon losing popularity and due to the death of Pinto Colvig. He started to really resurface after his appearance as Jacob Marley in Mickey's Christmas Carol. Goofy is referenced in high praise by Roger Rabbit in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. He then makes a brief appearance at the end of the movie.
Really?
Yeah, basically, Roger's talking about how no one takes a beating like Goofy and like basically how much of a genius he is with being clumsy and like taking falls in cartoons.
Man, I need to watch that again.
We absolutely do.
Because I mean, I grew up watching that, but like, I don't quite remember that part. But you know how well I remember movies, so.
Yeah, you know. In the 1990s, he got his own show with Goof Troop, where he lives with his son Max, next door to Pete and his family. Goof Troop eventually led to a Goofy movie and an extremely Goofy movie. Goofy and Max also had their own starring segments in Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas and Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas. During the Goof Troop years, Goofy is a single parent of Max and stays that way until he begins a relationship with the character Sylvia the character Sylvia Marple in an extremely Goofy movie. By this point, Max is grown and in college. Goofy returned to his original personality in Mickey Mouse Works and became the head waiter in House of Mouse. During this time is also when we see Goofy having a crush on Clarabelle Cow, a notion reinforced during Mickey, Donald, Goofy, The Three Musketeers. He makes an appearance in Season 3 of the new DuckTales, in which he is his Goof Troop version, because he does reference Max and talking about Max then.
Gotcha.
2021 saw the How to Stay Home series, in which Goofy is living during COVID.
Well, yeah, I haven't seen those.
Yeah, we need to watch
look them up,
those.
though.
They're just little shorts, but it's basically a revival of the How-To series and how to live in a COVID era.
Are they on Disney Plus?
They're
like,
Disney
how do we
Plus.
find these? Okay.
Yep. Let's talk about some of the voice actors. And I couldn't list all of them because there were just so many miscellaneous voice actors that kind of filled in. So I'm just kind of focusing on the main ones
The
here.
big ones, yeah.
So we have Pinto Colvig. He voiced from 1932 to 1938, and then he had his falling out, which then he was voiced by Danny Webb from 1931 to 1941. Colvig resumed duties from 1944 until his death in 1967. Then there were a lot of miscellaneous voices in between then. Then Bill Farmer has voiced Goofy since 1987. Farmer closely imitated Colvig for a bit, but then started putting his own spin on the voice in 1992 for Goof Troop.
That is a long time.
Yeah, and he's still doing it. He's still doing it.
That's crazy.
And he inherited all the other voices that Pinto Colvig did as well. So, like, he does Pluto, Horse Collar, things like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he does quite a few voices for it. And he's also Hot Pop on Amphibia.
Oh, fun.
Let's talk a little bit more about the holler, which, again, I'm not going to attempt to do.
Yeah, Yahoo-hoo-ee.
My Yahoo-hoo-hoo-ee. This is the cry that Goofy makes when he is falling or being launched into the air. It was originally recorded in 1941 by yodeler Hans Schroll, and it is claimed that he was not paid for the recording. Bill Farmer does the holler now. So he does the voice and the holler. It's not recycled.
Yeah.
And he was talking about it on the D23 podcast when they interviewed him.
Yeah.
And he says they always have to do it in 2 takes when they ask him to do the holler. And he always warns the guys in the booth running the microphones, he'll always tell them, like, hey, you're going to want to turn the mics down. And they'll always be like, no, it's good. We're fine. Go ahead and do it. So he blasts them with the holler. And then they say, okay, we got to do it again. We got to turn the mics down. So when he says he has to record it, he always has to record it twice.
They just never believe him.
The holler has shown up outside of Disney. In Batman, the animated series, the Joker uses the holler when his plane is about to crash into a canyon.
Oh, that's funny.
It appeared in the Street Fighter movie.
Okay.
It's heard in an episode of Rocko's Modern Life.
What?
And while it's always referenced as the holler, there is one place where it's not called the holler. In Epic Mickey 2, it's called the Goofy Yell.
Huh.
That's the only place it's not referred to as the holler. So that's our main history on Goofy. But I didn't do Goofy just to talk about Goofy. Originally, that's where I was going with this. Like, a few weeks ago when I started thinking about doing a Goofy episode, I was like, well, maybe I'll just focus on the Goofy movies. Oh, I could do the history of Goofy. But in our podcast, we like to go into kind of the more nooks and crannies of things.
I love those.
Yeah. So this is something that you brought up to me a good while back, and I had never looked more into it. But we have to look at this really serious question about Goofy.
Okay.
And this is where I was telling you to slow down, because I thought this might have been where you were going with your question.
No, I just really want to know why you didn't have pants
why you didn't
on.
have pants.
Yeah.
But now we have to talk about, because this has been a serious debate, is Goofy a cow?
Oh my god, no, he's a dog.
So Disney characters have actually been a cornucopia of conspiracy theories. So there's this theory out there that Winnie the Pooh is a girl, which is
What?
mostly false. The Seven Dwarves are each modeled after signs of cocaine addiction, which is
What?
false. A topless woman could be seen briefly on the VHS release of The Rescuers. 100% true.
Wait, what? For real?
An animator put a scene of a topless woman in the window in the original Rescuers release. You can Google it and find it. That
Wow.
one is 100% true.
Okay.
But in
Someone lost
January,
their job.
in January of 2019, a rumor started that Goofy was actually a cow instead of a dog.
Well, someone was just bitter they lost a bet.
Well, let's look into how this came up.
Okay.
While the debate picked up steam in 2019, it was actually started by an article from Real Rundown in 2012. The article gives a brief factual history on Goofy, kind of like I just did, but then claims that while he has always been described as a dog, Disney isn't telling us that Goofy is actually a cow. Specifically, an Aberdeen Angus cow. The article also claims that Goofy is anything but American. I love the look on your face right now.
I just don't. It's not right well.
The true origin of Goofy's nationality could have created a huge scandal for Disney that would have ended the Goofy career. The evidence. Real Rundown says the physical appearance of Goofy is the most obvious that makes him a cow. His buck teeth are flat, a characteristic of an herbivore. He has a cow nose with flaring nostrils that are larger than a dog's nose. We also need to remember that he comes from a hornless breed of cow, so that explains why he doesn't have horns, which was always my argument, because when that popped up and you told me about that, I'm like, but he's male, so he'd have horns.
Right.
So there's the explanation. He comes from a hornless breed of cow.
Okay.
Let's talk about Goofy's real ancestry.
They did like a, 23andMe on Goofy.
Yeah. His real name is Dipalwa Dawala. He was born in Scotland to Egyptian immigrants.
What is this? Who makes this stuff
Just-
up?
Here, just bear with me here.
Okay.
He was discovered by Disney talent agents at a livestock sale.
Shut up.
Disney worked with Goofy to eliminate his accent, but could not get rid of all of it, so they trained him to develop his trademark voice to cover it up. Why the change? Disney marketing realized that Americans saw dogs as lovable and saw cows as food. Disney wanted him to be funny and not appetizing, so he was marketed as a dog.
Because otherwise they're like, that Goofy looks tasty.
Right. But alas, you can't hide forever. One day after filming, Goofy met his true love, Clarabelle the cow. Clarabelle saw Goofy for what he really was, a handsome Angus bull stud. Disney was upset after the birth of Max, a calf born out of wedlock.
Oh dear.
Goof Troop allowed him to spend time with his son, also cast as a dog, and they didn't have to hide their relationship.
But Clarabelle's not in that movie.
Obviously, this article is satire, but it sparked an actual debate. There was a tweet from 2015 that asked, "How old were you when you found out Goofy was actually a cow and not a dog?" Many use the Real Rundown article as supporting evidence that Goofy is a cow. 1. The article discusses where Goofy was born and his parents were and how Disney found him. Obviously, he's an animated character who wasn't born anywhere. The fact that Goofy has an attraction to Clarabelle the cow is enough proof that he must also be a cow. However, Disney has plenty of interspecies relationships. For example, Jessica and Roger Rabbit, and Miss Piggy and Kermit.
I mean, they've always tried to be very forward-thinking.
Right. So that's where this started, was a satire article that actually took off and people ran with it. That it actually made people question whether or not he was actually a cow.
That's crazy.
But that's what I've got for Goofy. What'd you think?
That's so funny. It's kind of like when people take articles that like The Onion writes and like use them as, fact. And
Right.
everything.
It's satire, but
Yeah.
they're turning it into actual evidence of something.
I think it's cool you like delved into the history of like where that came from though. So
Well, yeah, because you had brought it up for me. We were driving back. I think we were actually driving back from a trip to the Disney store.
yeah,
And our Disney store closed. I'm a little bitter about that.
sad.
But I'm pretty sure we were driving back from a trip to our Disney store, and I don't even know how you brought it up, but you told me that people thought Goofy was a cow.
This was pre-podcast. Now your and I's conversations like that just typically end up with like, I found out this really cool thing.
But we have to save
Never mind.
it.
I gotta save it for the podcast.
We have to wait for the show. But I'd never looked into it before that. So when I was thinking about doing this Goofy episode, but how I could make it a little more exciting than just doing the history, I had to jump into why people thought Goofy was a cow. And there's
love
this
it.
whole fictional history of Goofy actually being a
Scandal.
cow.
I like it.
I had a lot of fun looking into this episode and getting this one together because I do like Goofy a lot. That's a voice I do for the kids quite a bit. Again, I'm not confident it's going to translate as well on this recording, but the kids like it. And
I know. Then
we
you
were
try to con the kids into doing it. They usually won't.
Yeah, they usually won't do it, but the reason they won't do it is because at Disney World, we were leaving Disney Springs, and we loaded our son up, and he started doing this kind of weird laugh, and then he goes, "I'm doing my Goofy voice." But now when I put him on the spot and ask him to do it, he won't do it.
You ruined it, Will.
I guess I ruined it. But that's what I've got this week, and I'm excited to see what you have for us next week.
Cool. Sounds good.
That's it for this week's episode of Ashes and Will Do Disney.
Don't forget we need your mouse tales. If you have a funny, weird, exciting, or just a favorite Disney memory, send it to ashesandwilldodisney@gmail.com so we can read them on the show.
And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Ashes and Will Do Disney. This is a public group to follow. We're also on YouTube at Ashes and Will Do Disney.
Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thank you so much for listening, and have a magical day.